Hi, I'm Tom Lehmann. I design Race for the Galaxy. I enjoy playing lots of games. I do role-playing, I run and I play. I play lots of board games. I certainly enjoy Puerto Rico, Kalis, Pandemic, obviously. I enjoyed it enough to help design an expansion for it. I play Race a lot. I play Dominion, play lots of the Euros. I also like playing some board games, various of the Columbia block games. I more admire specific games rather than designers. For example, Reiner has a huge output, Reiner Knizia, but I like 4 or 5 of his games a lot, and a lot of his games don't do it for me. So I would say of the noted designers, I like a couple of games from each of them. I had a little bit of that reaction when I first saw Settlers of Catan, okay? Because, you know, it has 2D6 production, and I had designed the game Fast Food Franchise way back when, which uses 2D6 running around the board and building properties somewhat like Monopoly. And so when I looked at it, I said, ooh, there's some of that same growth, that same production, that same randomness. Boy, Settlers of Catan is a lot better. In my case, I was very fortunate enough. I was one of the early people at Oracle. And so I had enough money that I could go lose a bunch of money by being a publisher. And I self-published 6 games during the mid-90s. And then when I went to start being a freelance designer, I was able to offer games to the German publishers, and they knew of me through my older games. Okay. And even though those older games really weren't of the German style, they were certainly willing to see anything in that style that I had. Right, and it was also one of the earliest of the cooperative games.
Okay.
And I happen to know the designer, Matt Leacock. I'm listed as a playtester for Pandemic, and I helped both playtest it during the early going, and when Matt was unable to come to the Gathering of Friends, I even demoed it to publishers at the Gathering, including some of the German publishers. And they played it, and they liked it, but they felt that the theme wouldn't work in the German market. And yet Z-Man picked it up, and now it's been licensed out and has done quite well in Germany. Probably, if you're going at it from, I have an idea and I want to make billions of dollars, that's probably the wrong approach. Let's say that you have a game that you're passionate about. In fact, if you have several game ideas and you're choosing which one of those do you want to go invest your time in, I would say pick the one that you are personally the most passionate about. Because when it comes time to demo it to the companies and to talk about it to the publishers, your passion will come through, and that's much more likely to get them interested in it. So that would be my first piece of advice, is develop the one that you think you're most passionate about, the one that you feel about, because rather than thinking, oh, this one's going to make me money versus that one's going to make me money. So that would be my first step. As far as routes into it, it's tough. It's tough to get appointments to present to publishers, although I will note that at least 2 publishers, American publishers, Rio Grande Games and Jay Tomlinson and Zev of Z-Man Games, they will both play games at conventions. Okay, so if you have a game and you've already done the hard work of playtesting it, not just with your friends, but with other people, so that you've gotten some reactions, made some adjustments to the game, then you can seek them out at conventions. And if they have some spare time, they'll sit down and play your game and you'll get an immediate result. And so I would say that's a very good route in the strategy market. I think it should be as good as possible as far as the mechanics, right? The rules should be reasonably clear, but they will ask questions and prove it. The part that doesn't have to be super good is the graphics, because they'll hire artists on that. Having it look clean, whether or not the graphics are super fancy, is helpful just because it's helpful for learning the game.
Okay.
But I would emphasize getting the play to be fun and fun right out of the box, and so that they can see the depth in the game. Let me explain one of the ground rules for the very first test of a game, right? Which is I tell the players it's okay to say stupid game. okay? Because I don't expect it to work the first time. And my first question to the players after that first playtest is often, is there a game there and did I find it? Because often what you think the game is about and what it's really about are two different things. And part of the whole development process is figuring out, oh, this is what the game is really about. And so sometimes you don't find it early on, but then it becomes clear to you, oh, this is really a game about risk-taking, and I need to make the risk-taking parts of it work, and these other things, this development stuff that I thought was interesting, that's peripheral. That's not the important part of the game. So I think during the early going, a lot of the development and testing is finding out what is the game really about. So here's Race for the Galaxy. That was the base game. The first expansion, The Gathering Storm, continues Race for the Galaxy and adds another player. Second expansion, Rebel vs. Imperium, adds a 6th player and adds some military takeovers to the game. If they want a card game that offers a lot of play and strategy decisions within a very short time frame, and that features a lot of simultaneous play, such that there's very little downtime. I would say those are two of the big features in Race for the Galaxy. If you like science fiction, you like that feeling of developing a space and time, that's another plus. After that, you should ask the players, not me.
Okay.
I can certainly talk about a little bit about the third expansion, The Race.
Okay.
It's called The Brink of War. And it adds a whole new mechanism. Unlike the other expansions to Race, The Gathering Storm and Rebel vs. Imperium, this one was requested after Race had been published. And so it hasn't had as long a development period, but we've been trying to do lots of testing of it. And I look to try to add a completely new mechanism, which is Galactic Prestige, to the already existing game system. It isn't done yet, but you can see some of the prototype cards, and here's what I mean where, you know, this doesn't have artwork, but it's very clear, you know. This is one of the cards adapted from the contest that we're having. It may or may not make the final cut, right? But we're testing it along with a bunch of other cards.